Hey, I'm Greg, and welcome to my channel. I love to fish in the surf, and I love sharing my passion for it with other people, which is why I am putting this video together. It's partially to promote my new fishing guide service, but hopefully I can also help you get to the point where you are catching fish back to back. Hold on, I need to release these. To back, back to back to back. Yeah. Ah, it came off. When people see me catching fish back to back to back, they tend to come up and ask me questions about how and what I am catching. There is no one secret, but if you want to catch more fish in the surf, here are 4 principles that can greatly increase your chances of success. Know your target species, use the correct hooks, use the correct bait, location, location, location. When people come up and talk to me, one of the first things I ask them is, what are you targeting? And the majority of the time, the response is, whatever's biting. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see people making. There are so many different types of fish that feed in the surf zone, and they behave so differently from one another that you have to target them differently. I have the different types of fish categorized in my head as little stuff, medium stuff, and big stuff. This categorization is actually more about how they feed and how I target them than their actual physical size, although sharks are big. The little stuff is the scavengers, the fish with mouths that face down. This list includes spot, croaker, sea robin, pinfish, pigfish. It's a long list. The most sought after species in this category are whiting and pompano. I target these fish with my ultimate surf fishing rig using size 4 circle hooks baited with fish bites and shrimp. I'll post a link to how to tie my ultimate surf fishing rig. The medium stuff is redfish, flounder, trout, bluefish, Spanish mackerel, ladyfish, essentially all of the stuff that eats bait fish. And I target them using live bait fish. Outside of the redfish, all of these fish have mouths that face up because they are attacking bait fish from below. And as I said, the big stuff is essentially just sharks and big bull redfish. This leads us to the next topic, which is using the correct hooks. I always fish with circle hooks in the surf because I'm set rig fishing and leaving the rods in sand spikes. The circle hooks set themselves and are much safer for the fish than a J hook. For the little stuff, I use a size 4 Mustad Demon Perfect circle hook. It's a small hook, but it works really well and it's plenty strong to bring in larger fish. I've caught 25-inch redfish using it, and as long as your drag isn't set too tight, you won't straighten it out. Trust me on this one, you will catch many more fish if you downsize your hooks to a size 4. For the medium stuff, I use a 2 or 3/0 circle hook, and then for the big stuff, I use an 8 or 12/0. I have videos on how to tie your own rigs, which is something I highly recommend you do. The rigs that I tie are super simple. Now, when it comes to bait, having good bait does matter. For the little stuff, I like using fresh, never frozen shrimp with shrimp fish bites. I actually prefer dead, fresh shrimp over live shrimp. Everything eats shrimp, which means all of the bait stealers eat shrimp, which means if you fish live shrimp in the surf, you're going to get your bait stolen a whole bunch. While you can certainly catch a lot of fish using live shrimp, my experience with it has been more frustration than catching. I bait the hook by putting a small piece of fish bites about the size of my fingernail on the hook, and then I essentially tip it with a small piece of peeled shrimp. It's better to peel the shrimp. It puts off more scent, and it actually stays on the hook better. Using a synthetic bait is foreign to a lot of freshwater anglers, but it is a game changer in the surf. As you saw in the opening clip, sometimes your bait gets taken almost immediately. If I hadn't hooked into that fish, it likely would have stolen the piece of shrimp off my hook, and if I was not using fish bites, then I would have had a baitless hook in the water almost immediately upon me casting it out there. For the medium stuff, my preferred bait is live mullet, or really any live bait fish. Menhaden and mud minnows will work just as well. If you can't get live bait or it's too much of a hassle, I would suggest fresh cut bait. I'm usually able to catch some pinfish or small whiting in the surf pretty quickly, and I'll chunk those up into smaller chunks to fit a 3/0 circle hook. I prefer this over frozen bait fish. The frozen bait fish come off the hook really easily, and in my opinion, they don't actually work all that well. For the big stuff, I use whatever little stuff I'm catching. I catch it and then toss it back out there on one of my shark rigs. I love the bigger pinfish for this. They are really hardy and feisty and stay alive for a long time. Bluefish and ladyfish chunks also make great shark bait. If you hook live bait fish through the lips, they will stay alive longer, but bluefish and small sharks have a funny way of biting them in half, and you end up reeling this back in. If this is happening, I hook them in the middle of the back. They will drown when you reel them back in to check your bait, but you will get many more hookups when you hook them in the middle of the back. The final principle is location. Large stretches of the beach are just flat sand with no real structure or anything that will hold fish. Learning to read the beach for runouts and sandbars is an important part of surf fishing. Maybe I'll put together a video about this, but there's already a few good ones out there. You can also hop on Google Maps and look for any man-made structure. I fish near some groins pretty frequently. I also fish jetty rocks and underneath piers that are under construction. My final tip, and honestly this is one of the biggest mistakes people make, is not holding bottom. Holding bottom means you have enough weight to keep it in place so you can keep your lines tight and the waves aren't moving your rig around, causing your line to go slack. You need your rod tips to be slightly bent and your lines tight so you can tell when you get a bite. Honestly, it is probably more common for a fish to pick up my bait and run towards the beach than it is for the fish to run parallel or away from the beach, causing my rod to bend over. This clip shows what it looks like when that happens, when they pick up the bait and run towards the beach. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you are interested in fishing with me, please get in touch. And as always, may the fish be with you.